On his second trip to the US in as many months, Munir was quoted saying, "We are a nuclear nation. If we think we are going down, we'll take half the world down with us." In hindsight, it is important for the world to have a greater understanding of Pakistan's nuclear capabilities. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute (SIPRI) 2025 yearbook, as of January, Pakistan's nuclear weapons armory was estimated to be somewhere around 170 nuclear warheads, a figure unchanged from the previous year. The country has continued developing a nuclear triad comprising aircraft capable of delivering nuclear gravity bombs, ground-launched ballistic and cruise missiles, and sea-launched cruise missiles, SLCMs intended for submarine deployment. The SIPRI report states that Pakistan is developing multiple new delivery systems, suggesting that its arsenal could expand in the next decade. Pakistan's Shaheen 3 is considered its most advanced ballistic missile. Shaheen boasts a range of 2,750 kilometers. This capability allows it to strike targets across the entirety of India if used in such a scenario. Alongside the Shaheen 3 is the Ababil missile, which introduces the potential for multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles. This feature could allow it to deliver multiple warheads to distinct targets, posing a significant challenge to missile defense systems when deployed. Pakistan's missile arsenal is still limited to its immediate neighbors. Global Reach claims that Asim Munir's claim of half the world, for example, exaggerates capabilities. With a 2,750-kilometer range, the Shaheen 3 can target all of India and portions of the Middle East, but it cannot reach North America, East Asia, or Western Europe. The 2,200-kilometer range Ababil is still under development and has unproven MIRV capabilities. Regional and combat tasks are served by shorter-range systems such as the Fatah 2, 400 kilometers hypersonic, Shaheen 2, 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers, and Ghauri 2, over 2,000 kilometers. The SIPRI report claims that Pakistan is attempting to develop a sea-based nuclear force in order to achieve a credible second strike capability. Tested in 2017 and 2018, the Babur 3 SLCM is intended to equip the 3 Agosta 90B diesel-electric submarines of the Pakistan Navy. Once operational, this capability would complete Pakistan's nuclear triad. The precise yields of Pakistan's warhead remain unknown. Nuclear tests conducted in 1998 showed a maximum output of about 12 kilotons. There is no publicly available proof of two-stage thermonuclear designs, but it is likely that boosted fission weapons with higher yields have since been created. Asim Munir, who is also supposedly gunning for the nation's supreme leadership, is not the only one threatening India with war. Regarding the suspension of the long-standing Indus Water Treaty, Pakistani politician Bilawal Bhutto also threatened India with war on Monday, claiming that New Delhi's actions had caused great damage to Pakistan and calling on all Pakistanis to unite against Prime Minister Narendra Modi. His warning was issued the day after Munir, Pakistan's military leader, threatened to destroy half the world and warn of a nuclear holocaust if Islamabad was threatened with extinction in a future conflict with India.
हम इस जिद्दोजहद में मुझे आपकी ज़रूरत है। हमने सब एक होके मोदी की बर्बारियत पे, मोदी के इस हमले के बारे में, मोदी के इस इरादे के बारे में आवाज़ उठाना है और जिद्दोजहद करना है ताकि इस जुल्म को भी हम रोक सकें। मैं जानता हूं कि आप में इतना ताकत है, इस मुल्क के अवाम में इतना ताकत है कि जंग की सूरत हो तो जंग में भी हम इनका मुकाबला कर सकते हैं और जो आपके 6 के 6 दरिया है वो वापस हासिल भी कर सकते हैं। और अगर ये हमें मजबूर करते हैं, पाकिस्तान ने ये जंग नहीं छेड़ा था। हम हमेशा अमन के बारे में बात करते हैं। जहां दुनिया भर में पाकिस्तान के सफ़ीर पहुंचे, नुमाइंदे पहुंचे, हमने अमन की बात की, भारत ने जंग की बात की। लेकिन अगर जंग छेड़ा गया है तो हम शाह अब्दुल लतीफ़ बिठाई की धरती से मोदी सरकार को बताना चाहेंगे कि हम पीछे नहीं हटते।
India is ahead by miles when nuclear arsenals are compared. Be it range, inventory, or lethality, India became the 6th nation to detonate a nuclear weapon in 1974 when it conducted its first nuclear test. Although precise yields are unknown, the weapons in the nation's arsenal have estimated average outputs between 12 and 40 kilotons. India's nuclear arsenal size has never been made public.
चेक सुनिश्चित करो। हर हार के बाद कांग्रेस ने नया बहाना ढूंढने का काम किया। आत्मचिंतन, आत्मनिरीक्षण कांग्रेस ने नहीं किया, लेकिन आरोप ईवीएम इलेक्शन कमीशन से लेके संवैधानिक संस्थाओं पे बार बार लगाते रहे। और अब बिहार चुनाव हारता देखकर कांग्रेस पहले ही विपक्षी दलों के साथ मिलकर झूठे आरोप लगाने में लगी है। कल कुछ कांग्रेस के लोग कह रहे थे राहुल गांधी जी और विपक्ष के नेताओं ने बवंडर खड़ा किया। अरे भाई, बवंडर नहीं, बलंडर है, और मैं बताने वाला हूं कैसे। जितने आरोप आज तक लगाए, मैं राहुल जी को यही कहूंगा, धूल चेहरे पर थी पर आप आईना साफ करते रहे। और एक एक करके इनको बताना जरूरी इसलिए भी है कि 1952 से अगर हम शुरुआत करें तो चोर चोर मुसेरे भाई मिलकर वोट की चोरी की दुकान चलाई। यानी कि कांग्रेस सीपीआई ने मिलकर संविधान निर्माता, एक संत जैसे नेता डॉक्टर भीमराव अंबेडकर जी को चुनाव हरवाया। और चुनावी भ्रष्टाचार की नींव कांग्रेस ने पहले चुनाव से 1952 में ही रख दी थी। डॉक्टर बाबा साहब अंबेडकर को हराने का काम किया कांग्रेस सीपीआई ने मिलकर किया। और आप रिकॉर्ड चेक करिए, 74,333 वोट खारिज किए गए, जबकि डॉक्टर भीमराव अंबेडकर जी मात्र 14,561 वोट से हारे थे। कांग्रेस ने तो संविधान निर्माता एक दलित नेता को पहले चुनाव में निपटाने का काम कर दिया। और 21 अप्रैल 1952 को डॉक्टर अंबेडकर ने 18 पेज की याचिका दायर की। आप कल्पना कीजिए, जिन्होंने संविधान बनाया था, एक कांग्रेस और एक परिवार ने उसी संविधान निर्माता को चुनावों में धांधली करके हरा दिया। ये चुनावी भ्रष्टाचार का पहला उदाहरण। आगे बहुत सारे उदाहरण हैं। मैं चाहूंगा कि एक स्लाइड शो करके आपको, अगर इससे प्रेजेंटेशन देके अगर आप अनुमति देंगे तो मैं आपको बताना चाहूंगा। अगर आप पहली स्लाइड पर देखें तो बहुत स्पष्ट दिखता है कि 1952 में, जो मैंने अंबेडकर जी का उदाहरण दिया, 1957 में बूथ कैप्चरिंग करके कांग्रेस ने काम किया। 1967 में कांग्रेस ने जे.एंड.के में, जम्मू कश्मीर में पूरी तरह से, एक तरह से रिगिंग करके विरोधियों के नॉमिनेशन तक खत्म करवा के ये सब कार्य कर दिए। और सरदार पटेल पे तो आज मैं क्या कहूँ, वो तो कांग्रेस ने अंदर ही अंदर उनके साथ जो किया, नहीं तो सरदार पटेल शायद पहले प्रधानमंत्री होते। तो रिगिंग पार्टी के अंदर भी और देश के चुनाव में भी कांग्रेस की करने की आदत रही है। और जस्टिस सिन्हा ने जो इंदिरा गांधी जी को 2 अकाउंट्स पे गिल्टी किया था, वो आप देखिए इलेक्टोरल माल प्रैक्टिस के लिए किया था। और 1975 में जब ये उन्होंने कहा, तो 1971 के चुनाव में सरकार के सत्ता का दुरुपयोग सरकारी मशीनरी का, सरकारी कर्मचारियों का कैसे किया जा सकता है, ये कांग्रेस की एक बड़ी नेता ने करके दिखाया। और चुनाव उनको फिर उसके खिलाफ जजमेंट आई, देश को बाद में आपातकाल झेलना पड़ा। 1987 में नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस के साथ मिलकर लार्ज स्केल रिगिंग कांग्रेस ने की। और राइट साइड पे देखिए, कीर्ति जाट जी ने कहा कि पोलिंग बूथ लूटने का काम उनके और उनके पिताजी के लिए और कांग्रेस के नेताओं के लिए उस समय की कांग्रेस ने किया था। ये एक नहीं, ऐसे अनेक उदाहरण हैं। और इस परिवार और पार्टी का शुरू से ये रहा है कि चुनाव हारते हो तो वोटर पे ठीकरा फोड़ दो, या इलेक्शन कमीशन पे ठीकरा फोड़ दो, या इलेक्शन कमीशन के नियमों पर, कार्यप्रणाली पर प्रश्न चिन्ह खड़ा कर दो। इंदिरा गांधी जी ने तो यहां तक कह दिया कि मतदाता मूर्खों का टोला है। इंदिरा गांधी सेड, वोटर्स अ बंच ऑफ फूल्स। और इस 77 का चुनाव हारने के बाद कहा। 1999 में जब राजीव गांधी जी हारे तो उन्होंने बैलेट पेपर पर ठीकरा फोड़ दिया। वो उस समय कहते थे इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मशीन लाओ, आज उनके सुपुत्र राहुल गांधी जी कहते हैं कि भाई ईवीएम बंद करो, वापस बैलेट पेपर पे जाओ। और ये एक के बाद महाराष्ट्र, हरियाणा, दिल्ली, अनेकों राज्यों और देश में 3 बार लगातार चुनाव हारने के बाद, 90 चुनाव हारने के बाद राहुल गांधी जी आरोप प्रत्यारोप पर लगातार जारी हैं। अब इनका मॉडस ऑपरेंडी क्या है राहुल जी का? चुनाव हारो, झूठे आरोप लगाओ, कभी इलेक्शन कमीशन में कंप्लेंट दर्ज मत कराओ, कभी सबूत मत दो, और लोकतंत्र को फर्जीवाड़ा करके एक तरह से जनता को भ्रमित करने का काम करो, लोकतंत्र को नीचा दिखाने का काम करो। मेरा राहुल गांधी से सीधा सवाल है, किस बात का डर है राहुल जी? शपथ पत्र नहीं देते, सबूत नहीं देते, झूठे आरोप लगाकर भाग जाते हो, और यही आपका तरीका हो गया है। भ्रम फैलाया चुनाव के समय संविधान का लेकर, आज संवैधानिक संस्थाओं पे प्रश्न चिन्ह खड़ा करते हो। और ये देखिए, शूट एंड स्कूट का इनका पुराना है। इलेक्शन कमीशन ने राहुल गांधी जी को बुलाया, वोटर रोल इशू पे नहीं गए, उनको कहा एविडेंस दे दो, बार बार कहा, नहीं दिया राहुल गांधी जी ने और कांग्रेस पार्टी ने। और यहां तक कि रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ पीपल्स एक्ट, आरपी एक्ट में अगर देखें सेक्शन 80 में, तो नो इलेक्शन पिटिशन फाइल की इनके किसी भी नेता ने, किसी चुनाव लड़ने वाले ने। और अगर आप दाहिनी ओर देखेंगे तो इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस और आरजेडी को, ये पूरा चार्ट देखिए आप ध्यान से। इलेक्शन कमीशन आज 13वां दिन हो गया लगातार बिहार में, वहां तो इनकी कोई इस तरह की बातचीत नहीं है, खुले मन से इलेक्शन कमीशन बात सुन रहा है, बिहार के लोगों को कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। लेकिन जब इनके पास बिहार में मुद्दा कोई नहीं बचा, चुनाव में जाने से पहले हार स्वीकार कर ली, तो अब झूठे आरोप लगाते हैं। अब राहुल गांधी जी का झूठ न्यू वोटर एडिशन पर देखिए साफ दिखता है। महाराष्ट्र का मैं आपको उदाहरण देना चाहता हूं। उन्होंने आरोप लगाया था कि वोटर एडिशन बहुत होगी। मैं आपको आंकड़े दे रहा हूं। 2004 में 4.7% वोट की वृद्धि हुई, यूपीए की सरकार थी। 2009 में वृद्धि हुई 4.1% की, फिर यूपीए की सरकार बनी। अब उस समय महाराष्ट्र में किसकी सरकार थी? इन्हीं की थी भाई। लेकिन जब 2019 और 24 की बात आई तो 1.3% और 4.4%, और 2014 में मात्र 3.4%। ये कम है 2004 और 2009 से। तो मैं राहुल गांधी जी से पूछना चाहता हूं और विपक्ष से पूछना चाहता हूं, क्या आपने उस समय वोट चोरी की थी, वोट फर्जीवाड़ा किया था? चुनाव आपने वैसे जीता था। आप देश के मतदाता को नीचा दिखाने का कांग्रेस पार्टी काम कर रही है। अपमान कर रहे हो आप देश के मतदाताओं का। और अगर आपको इस स्लाइड से अगला देखिए, उन्होंने दूसरा आरोप लगाया था कि 5 बजे के बाद कहते बहुत वोट बढ़ गए, जो 5 बजे से पहले कम पड़े थे। यह स्लाइड आपके सामने है। 5 बजे से पहले 58 लाख वोट 1 घंटे में पड़े, प्रति घंटा 58 लाख वोट पड़े, और 5 बजे के बाद 32.5 लाख वोट प्रति घंटा पड़े। तो स्पष्ट है कि राहुल गांधी जी के आंकड़े भी झूठे हैं और वो भी झूठे हैं। झूठ बोलो और भाग जाओ, आरोप लगाओ भाग जाओ, सबूत मत दो, केवल आरोप लगाओ, भ्रम फैलाओ। और कांग्रेस पार्टी ने जो फॉर्म 17C है, उनके सभी एजेंट ने साइन किया, कोई डिस्प्यूट नहीं हुआ। अगर उनके पोलिंग एजेंट कोई आरोप नहीं लगाते तो आप क्यों कैसे कह सकते हो? कोई इलेक्शन पिटीशन आज तक फाइल नहीं की कांग्रेस के किसी नेता ने, तो आज इस तरह के झूठे आरोप क्यों लगते हैं? और कांग्रेस में आंतरिक लोकतंत्र खत्म हो चुका है। के.एन. रजन्ना ने, कांग्रेस के वरिष्ठ नेता, जब अपनी पार्टी पर सवाल खड़ा किया कि भाई हमारी सरकार थी 2024 में कर्नाटक में कांग्रेस की, जब ये वोटर लिस्ट बनी, तब आप आंखें मूंद करके बैठे थे, हाथ पे हाथ धर के बैठे थे, तब क्यों नहीं बोले? तब तो मुंह में दही जम गया था, होंठ सिल गए थे। जब उन्होंने बात कही तो उनको नोटिस नहीं दिया, फिर एक बार दलित नेता के ऊपर गाज गिरी। कांग्रेस ने उनको नोटिस तो छोड़ी, उनको बर्खास्त करने का सीधा आदेश राहुल गांधी जी ने दिया। कांग्रेस में आंतरिक लोकतंत्र खत्म हो चुका है। और देखिए इसमें भी आंकड़े, आप दाहिनी तरफ देखिए, धुले सीट पे मैं बता रहा हूं आपको स्पष्ट दिख रहा है कि कैसे माइनॉरिटी डोमिनेटेड मालेगांव सेंट्रल में 1,94,000 वोट जो एक विधानसभा में पड़े उसने एक तरफा कर दिया, जबकि बाकी 4 विधानसभाओं में 1,90,000 की हमारी लीड थी। तो ऐसा तो कई है। और ये सब तब हो रहा है जब राहुल गांधी जी को और विपक्षी दलों को अपने घुसपैठिए वोट बैंक पर नजर है, उनको बचाना चाहते हैं। ये तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति, ये बार बार कांग्रेस की और विपक्षी दलों की तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति आती है। ये एक वर्ग को देखकर अपना वोट बैंक साधते हैं और उसके लिए किसी भी हद तक भय भ्रम फैलाने का काम करते हैं, झूठे आरोप लगाने का काम करते हैं और एक घुसपैठ करने वाले को संरक्षण देने का लगातार काम पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी और दशक दर दशक ये कांग्रेस ने करने का काम किया है। और जब SIR लाए कि ये जो फर्जी वोट अगर बनते हैं तो उसकी सफाई हो, सच्चे भारतीयों को, पक्के नागरिकों को वोट का अधिकार उनका ना छिने, लेकिन जो घुसपैठिए हैं, जो फर्जी वोट बना है, उनके वोट को खत्म किया जाए, तो उसका विरोध कांग्रेस पार्टी करती है। आखिरकार हिंदुस्तान के लोगों के वोट को नीचा क्यों दिखाना चाहती है कांग्रेस और विपक्षी दल? ये घुसपैठियों के वोट बैंक पर राजनीति क्यों करना चाहते हैं विपक्षी दल? क्या हिंदुस्तान के मतदाताओं ने बार बार कांग्रेस को नकारा तो अब केवल अपने घुसपैठिए वोट बैंक तक ही सीमित होना चाहती है कांग्रेस? और ये टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया की, इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स की हेडलाइंस मैंने आपको दिखाई है। अगर आप अगले में देखेंगे, मैं तो आपको 5 पैटर्न बता रहा हूं कैसे घुसपैठिए वोट बैंक पर जो डुप्लीकेट वोट हैं, फेक एड्रेस हैं, फेक रिलेटिव हैं, मैनिपुलेटेड एज कहें या गलत एज छप गया, और मास वोटर एडिशन जो है, मैं उस पर आपको एक उदाहरण देता हूं। डुप्लीकेट वोट का देखिए आप, रायबरेली नाम तो सुना होगा आपने, राहुल जी ने भी सुना होगा। रायबरेली में मोहम्मद कैफ खान, बूथ नंबर 83, 151, 218, सब जगह इनका नाम है, नाम सेम है, बस बाप का नाम भी सेम है, लेकिन वोट 3 पोलिंग बूथों पे बना हुआ है, 83, 151, 218 में। अगला देखिए फेक एड्रेस, 47 वोटर आईडी डायमंड हार्बर में। अभिषेक बनर्जी जी, डायमंड हार्बर में 47 वोटर आईडी हाउस नंबर 189 के पोलिंग बूथ 131 पर रजिस्टर हुए हैं। ये रायबरेली में हुए हैं जो 47 वोटर आईडी, और डायमंड हार्बर में मल्टीपल रिलीजन के एक ही घर नंबर 0011 पे बूथ नंबर 103 पे फाल्टा असेंबली में डायमंड हार्बर जो लोकसभा है वहाँ पे रजिस्टर हुए। और नाम भी अगर आप पढ़ेंगे तो अगर रायबरेली के पढ़ूं तो मोहम्मद इस्लाम है, मोहम्मद इरफान है, मोहम्मद कासिम है, फिर साफिया मोहम्मद कासिम है, फ़करून निहा है, मोहम्मद कबीर है, श्रीमती फरीदा बानो है, शकील अंसारी है, मोहम्मद अयूब है, सबनम है। ये सारे नाम रायबरेली के हैं। राहुल जी को कभी ये नाम नहीं दिखे, सोनिया जी को कभी ये नाम नहीं दिखे कि 47 वोटर आईडी एक ही घर पे कैसे आए। राहुल जी, आप तो कई सालों से वहां पे वोट मांग रहे हो। अगले पे देखिए, फेक रिलेटिव की आप बात करते हैं। खुर्शीद आलम एक ही रहता है लेकिन इनका बाप बार बार बदल जाता है। खुर्शीद आलम वहीं रहते बाप बदल जाता है भाई वोटर लिस्ट में। अगर आप देखिए कहां पे डायमंड हार्बर में, अभिषेक जी जाइए कभी मिलके तो आइए और पता कीजिए क्या खुर्शीद आलम के पिताजी एक ही हैं कि अलग अलग बदल गए हैं और इनका नाम कैसे बार बार बदल गया है। और यही नहीं, जो आप ज्यादा उम्र के वोटर्स की बात करते हैं तो कैसे निलंबर में, वायनाड में, और वायनाड में तो मुझे भाई साहब श्रीमान राहुल गांधी जी 2 बार चुनाव लड़े, श्रीमती प्रियंका गांधी जी 1 बार चुनाव लड़ी, तो दोनों से मैं पूछता हूं ये जो नए वोटर की एडिशन हुई है 102, 101 साल, 99 साल, ये नए वोटर है, तो आपने तो 3 बार वोट ले लिया भाई। तो क्या आपने अपने बीएलए से, अपने पोलिंग बूथ एजेंट से, या आपने वोट मांगे, आपने कभी नहीं देखा? तो कैसे हुआ ये? और आगे देखिए, मास वोटर एडिशन की बात करूं, 301/1724 में से 301 बूथ में डायमंड हार्बर में 15% वृद्धि हुई है पिछले 4 सालों में, और सारे टीएमसी ने जीते हैं। वे बल्क एडिशन है भाई। फाल्टा में 17, डायमंड हार्बर में 35, बिष्णुपुर में 92, महेशताला में 89, बाजबाज में 32। अभिषेक बनर्जी जी कहां हो आप? देखिए क्या हो रहा डायमंड हार्बर में, चेक करिए, वहां पे सरकार भी आपकी है, बीएलओ भी आपके हैं, बीएलए भी आपके हैं। तो क्या आप चुनाव इसीलिए जीत रहे हो? ये जो फर्जी वोट एडिशन क्या आपके अनुसार हो रही है? और जब कांग्रेस ऐसे वोट चोरी के झूठे आरोप लगाती है तो इसके पीछे कांग्रेस का गेम प्लान नजर आता है, जो घुसपैठिया वोट बैंक। एकमात्र कांग्रेस का इसके पीछे एजेंडा है घुसपैठिया वोट बैंक को बचाना कैसे है, एक वर्ग के वोट बैंक के लिए कैसे लड़ाई लड़नी है, राष्ट्र की सुरक्षा के साथ कैसे खिलवाड़ करना है, और सच्चे पक्के भारतीयों के वोट को नीचा कैसे दिखानी, ये राहुल गांधी जी और विपक्ष का आज का एजेंडा है। और मैं आपको आगे ये 6 चेहरे आप देख लीजिए, इनके लोकसभा के नाम देख लीजिए। वायनाड, रायबरेली, डायमंड हार्बर, कन्नौज, मैनपुरी, कोलाथुर विधानसभा, 5 लोकसभा 1 विधानसभा। अब इनमें देखिए किया क्या है। वायनाड में 93,499 डाउटफुल वोटर हैं, जिनमें से 20,438 डुप्लीकेट वोटर हैं, 17,450 फेक एड्रेस के साथ हैं, 4,246 मिक्स्ड हाउस होल्ड है, और 51,365 वोटर मास एडिशन में हुए। अब आप नाम देखिए साहब, मैमूना नाम है, बूथ नंबर 135 है, और फिर वो 115 पे भी वही है, फिर 152 में भी वही है। विधानसभा 1 है इरानाड, लेकिन पोलिंग बूथ 135, 115, 152 में मैमूना बार बार वोटर बन जाती है, लेकिन राहुल जी प्रियंका जी को पता नहीं चलता क्योंकि उनको चुनाव जिताती हैं। और यही नहीं, 17,450 फेक एड्रेस, इसके उदाहरण आपके सामने। 52 वोटर आईडी एक ही घर पे 52 नंबर पोलिंग बूथ पे वंडूर असेंबली में हुए। राहुल जी आप क्या कर रहे थे, प्रियंका जी आप क्या कर रही थी, आपके बीएलए क्या कर रहे थे? फिर 4,246 वोटर मिक्स हाउस होल्ड के साथ, ये वलिकमुट्टुमल बूथ नंबर 24 में थिरुवंबडी असेंबली में हुए, और ये एक ही हाउस नंबर चंदौरी में पोलिंग बूथ नंबर 41 पे कलपेट्टा असेंबली में हुए। मल्टीपल रिलीजन के लोग हैं भाई, कैसे हो गए? फिर लिली कुट्टी, इनका आप देखिए, उम्र है 102, कमलम्मा की उम्र है 101, पारू की उम्र है 101, और ये नए वोटर के रूप में ऐड हो गए। तो राहुल जी प्रियंका जी आप क्या कर रहे थे? 51,365 वोटर मास एडिशन हुई अन्नम्मा के नाम से 99 साल की उम्र में, थरेसी अम्मा की 99 ईयर्स की उम्र में, खादीजा की 99 ईयर्स की उम्र में। तो ये कैसे हुआ? और केरला जहां बार बार आरोप लगता है इस तरह के कारनामों का, तो क्या राहुल जी अमेठी में हार के बाद वायनाड आप इसीलिए गए थे कि वहां फर्जीवाड़ा आपके लोगों ने आपको चुनाव जिताने के लिए किया था? ये डुप्लीकेट रजिस्ट्रेशन कराने का काम क्या आपके लोगों ने किया था? और यूडीएफ एलडीएफ ने जो इस्लामिक रेडिकलाइजेशन का काम किया है और जिसको भारतीय जनता पार्टी वहां पे बार बार चुनौती देती है, और आप वहां पे फर्जी वोट क्या बनाने का काम करते हो आप लोग? प्रियंका जी, अब तो आपको गिफ्ट दिए, गिफ्ट तो नहीं मैं बोलूंगा, लेकिन राहुल जी ने सीट छोड़ी तो आपको चुनाव लड़ने का मौका वहां पे मिला, तो क्या आप वहां से इस्तीफा दोगे? जो कल से विपक्ष कहता है इस्तीफा दो, तो क्या ये इस्तीफा देंगे? क्या राहुल जी इस्तीफा देंगे? रायबरेली में 2,99,000 डाउटफुल वोटर्स, ये देखिए कैसे हैं। इसी में मोहम्मद कैफ खान 83 नंबर पोलिंग बूथ पे भी है, 151 पे भी है, 218 पे भी है। और आगे देखिए 71,977 ये फेक एड्रेस हैं। 47 वोटर आईडी एक ही घर हाउस नंबर 189 में 131 नंबर पोलिंग बूथ पे रायबरेली में बने हैं। 31 वोटर आईडी हाउस नंबर 86 पे बने हैं हरचांदपुर में। तो राहुल जी कैसे बन गए, जवाब दीजिए। 15,853 वोट अब ये बने हैं कहाँ पे? हाउस नंबर 7 में, फिर हाउस नंबर 4 में बने हैं, पोलिंग बूथ नंबर 292 232 में बने हैं। फिर अगला देखिए 92,747 नए वोटर्स की एडिशन हुई, मास एडिशन हुई। आप नाम सुनिए, आपको पता चल जाएगा क्या हुआ है। सैदून, नाम क्या है? सैदून 89 ईयर्स एज, अब्दुल हक 85 साल की उम्र, सद्दाम 91 साल की उम्र। तो सैदून, अब्दुल हक, सद्दाम 99, 85, 91 साल की उम्र में पहली बार के वोटर बताते हैं। मोहम्मद याकूब 92 साल, हसमतून 85 साल, ये नए वोटर आपके बन जाते हैं। अब इस तरह से फेक बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट आप लोग दिलाते हो, वोटर आप लोग बनवाते हो, फर्जीवाड़ा आप लोग करते हो। और जब इलेक्शन कमीशन इसकी सफाई की बात करता है कि ऐसी इंटेंसिव सफाई चलनी चाहिए, कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए, तो आप अपने घुसपैठी वोट बैंक को, एक स्पेशल वोट बैंक को बचाने के लिए आप रिफॉर्म्स को रोकने का काम करते हो। और ममता बनर्जी जी से मैं सवाल पूछना चाहता हूं भाई, आप 2005 में लोकसभा में, मुझे आज भी याद है, स्पीकर की चेयर के पास जाके फेंक दिए थे उन्होंने कागज जोर से, और कहा था बांग्लादेशी घुसपैठियों को वोट बैंक बन रहा है और ये लिस्ट में उनके नाम है, आप लोग रोकने का काम नहीं करते हैं। तो ममता बनर्जी जी, आज अगर सफाई होने का काम होता है तो फर्जी घुसपैठिए जो वोट बैंक है उसकी सफाई अभियान पे आप रोक क्यों लगवाना चाहते हो? क्या तब आप दिखावा करते थे और आज घुसपैठिए वोट बैंक को बचाने के लिए ममता बनर्जी जी घड़ियाली आंसू बहा रही हैं? क्या राहुल गांधी जी वोट चोरी के आरोप में अपनी इस्तीफा देंगे? डायमंड हार्बर पे आ जाते हैं साहब, छोटा मोटा वोट नहीं, 2,59,779 वोट, और ये सारे आंकड़े देखिए सामने। अब डुप्लीकेट वोट कौन है? जाकिर हुसैन मोला, साबिद अली मोला, मौला ही मौला है, कोई जाकिर है, कोई साबिद अली है, कोई शबाना खातून है, और शाबिदा खातून तो एक नहीं, अभिषेक जी की कृपा से कहां कहां पहुंच गए सारे। एक सेकंड, ज्यादा आगे चले गए भाई। एक सेकंड, पश्चिम बंगाल की बात आई तो पहुंच गए ठीक जगह। तो वापस आते हैं अभिषेक जी के जगह पे, और डायमंड हार्बर में देखिए काम कैसे है। जाकिर हुसैन मौला, सुबिद अली मौला, शबाना खातून, 3-3 जगह इनके वोट बन गए साहब। पोलिंग स्टेशन 152, पोलिंग स्टेशन 50, पोलिंग स्टेशन 86, और 28 वोटर आईडी एक ही घर पे हाउस नंबर 1 पे बने 265 नंबर पोलिंग बूथ पे, डायमंड हार्बर असेंबली कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में। नाम आपके सामने है, सब पता चल रहा है कौन नाम है, क्या पृष्ठभूमि है। 111 वोट आईडी एक ही घर पे 66 नंबर पोलिंग बूथ पे हाउस नंबर 97 में बने। खुर्शीद आलम, नाम खुर्शीद आलम का वही रहता है, पिता का नाम, बाप का नाम बार बार बदलता है। अब्दुल मजीद, तोजदे लश्कर, ये बार बार देखिए अपना एजेंडा चला के इन्होंने कैसे ये फर्जी वोटवाड़ा किया है, घुसपैठी वोट बैंक। और घुसपैठ कितनी है वोट बैंक की आप देख सकते हैं। हाउस नंबर 11 में कितने वोट बने, हाउस नंबर 26 में कितने बने, ये फाल्टा विधानसभा और बिश्नीपुर विधानसभा का आता है। और 225 बूथ पे फिर कितने पोलिंग वोट बने, 43,947 वोट मिक्स हाउस होल्ड में जाके बना दिए। और मास एडिशन जो हुई है, थोक में जो वोट बना है वो 56,564, सरीमन बीबी, हमीदा बीबी, सलेहा मौला, रजमन शेख, अजूफा मौला। अरे भाई, ये सारे लोगों के नाम आपके यहाँ पर आ गए। तो मैं आपसे सिर्फ इतना पूछना चाहता हूँ कि आप आखिरकार ऐसा क्यों कर रहे हो? क्या अभिषेक जी ये घुसपैठी वोट बैंक के बारे में जवाब देंगे? क्या वो अपना इस्तीफा देंगे, डायमंड हार्बर से इस्तीफा देंगे? मेरा सवाल केवल उनसे इतना ही है। अब अगर मैं बात करूं अखिलेश जी की, तो अखिलेश जी के भी यहाँ पर काफ़ी 2,91,798 डाउटफुल वोटर हैं। कितने? अखिलेश जी के यहाँ पे 2,91,798 डाउटफुल वोटर हैं। और अखिलेश जी चुनाव कितने वोट से जीते? 1,70,922 वोटों से। अब साहब इसमें देखिए बड़ी मज़ेदार बात है कि अकील का वोट यहाँ पे नज़र आपको आ रहा है, राजू पिता का नाम मुल्ला, उनका वोट नज़र आता है। और ये एक नहीं दो जगह नज़र आता है।
Amity is proud to announce the commencement of its 12th university in India, Amity University, Hyderabad. At the prime location of AeroCity Hyderabad Airport, has a strong focus on high-end research with brilliant students and distinguished faculty who share our mission to change the world together. To apply for this year's session, visit amity.edu/Hyderabad.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
Pakistan's de facto military super commander Asim Munir made some serious threats against India and the world. On his second trip to the US in as many months, Munir was quoted saying, "We are a nuclear nation. If we think we are going down, we'll take half the world down with us." In hindsight, it is important for the world to have a greater understanding of Pakistan's nuclear capabilities. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute (SIPRI) 2025 yearbook, as of January, Pakistan's nuclear weapons armory was estimated to be somewhere around 170 nuclear warheads, a figure unchanged from the previous year. The country has continued developing a nuclear triad comprising aircraft capable of delivering nuclear gravity bombs, ground-launched ballistic and cruise missiles, and sea-launched cruise missiles, SLCMs intended for submarine deployment. The SIPRI report states that Pakistan is developing multiple new delivery systems, suggesting that its arsenal could expand in the next decade.
इसके पीछे खेल केवल अपने घुसपैठी वोट बैंक को बचाने के लिए है। मैं आपसे इतना ही कहूँगा, महाराष्ट्र में भी मैं आपको उदाहरण मैंने दिया था। महाराष्ट्र में यूपीए के टाइम पे वोट ज़्यादा ऐड हुआ, हमारे टाइम पे कम हुआ। भांडाफोड़ जब कांग्रेस के अपने ही मंत्री ने किया तो उस दलित नेता को रंजना को इस्तीफा देने के लिए मजबूर कर दिया। फेक रिलेटिव्स का खेल अभिषेक जी के लोकसभा क्षेत्र में साफ देखने को मिला। अब तो यही लगता है विपक्ष के इस शोर को देख के कि चोर मचाए शोर। और मैं एक बात जरूर कहूँगा, वायनाड से लेकर रायबरेली से लेकर डायमंड हार्बर हो या अखिलेश जी का लोकसभा क्षेत्र हो, हर जगह ये सवाल खड़ा होता है कि इन्होंने फर्जी वोट क्यों बनने दिए, आखिरकार इन्होंने ये काम क्यों किए, क्या ये वोट की चोरी और घुसपैठियों को जो संरक्षण है इसको देखते हुए अपना इस्तीफा देंगे। तो मेरा उनसे सवाल है, अखिलेश जी, राहुल जी, प्रियंका जी, ये कब इस्तीफा देंगे? और प्रोपेगेंडा किंग तो आपको पता ही है कौन है, जो हर बार भय और भ्रम फैलाने का काम करते हैं। और प्रोपेगेंडा किंग के लिए कोई नई बात नहीं है। चुनाव से पहले वो संविधान के बारे में भ्रम फैलाते हैं, झूठ फैलाते हैं, लोगों में प्रोपेगेंडा फैलाते हैं, और चुनाव हार जाने के बाद फिर खिसक जाते हैं, विदेश यात्रा पर चले जाते हैं। और मैं राहुल जी से कहूँगा, प्रोपेगेंडा फैलाने की बजाय अपना एजेंडा बिहार चुनाव के लिए कोई तय करें, आत्मनिरीक्षण करें, आत्मचिंतन करें। और जो देश की जनता ने मोदी जी को बार बार जिताया, भारतीय जनता पार्टी को बार बार जिताया, देश की जनता को गाली देना बंद करें, देश की जनता के वोट का अपमान बंद करें। और ये जो आपका एजेंडा भारत के लोकतंत्र को कमज़ोर करने का है, भारत की संवैधानिक संस्थाओं पर प्रश्नचिन्ह खड़ा करने का है, भारत की संविधान संस्थाओं को ख़त्म करने का आपकी एक शुरुआत जो आपका एजेंडा चल रहा है, आप इस एजेंडा और प्रोपेगेंडा को ख़त्म कीजिए। आप कोई बवंडर नहीं मचा पाएंगे, आप ब्लंडर पर ब्लंडर ही करते जाएंगे। धन्यवाद।
मित्रों, प्रश्न सादर आमंत्रित है देवेंद्र पारासर, इंडिया टीवी।
हमारा तो भारत के लोकतंत्र में, लोकतंत्र प्रणाली में, भारत के मतदाताओं में और भारत के इलेक्शन कमीशन में हमारा विश्वास है। हम मोदी जी की लोकप्रियता, भारतीय जनता पार्टी एनडीए सरकार के कामकाज पर चुनकर आए हैं, जनता ने देश की सेवा करने का मौका दिया है और पिछले 11 वर्षों में नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में देश 10वें नंबर से दुनिया की चौथी बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था बना। 25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी रेखा से बाहर आए, गरीबों का उत्थान हुआ, भारत का लोकतंत्र मजबूत हुआ, नरेंद्र मोदी जी दुनिया के सबसे लोकप्रिय नेता के रूप में चुनकर उभर कर आए। ये सब हमने किया है। और रिफॉर्म्स जब जब हम लाए, चाहे जीएसटी हो, वन नेशन वन टैक्स हो या अन्य रिफॉर्म्स हो, हमने रिफॉर्म्स में विश्वास किया है कि देश के विकास के लिए, विकसित भारत के लिए जो भी रिफॉर्म्स लानी होगी हम उसके साथ खड़े हैं। और इलेक्शन कमीशन भी अगर फर्जी वोट को ख़त्म करने के लिए, सफाई करने के लिए एसआईआर प्रणाली को लाया है। 2003 में, 2002 में भी अगर आखिरी बार ये हुआ तो आज क्यों इस पर प्रॉब्लम खड़ी होती है? क्योंकि घुसपैठिए वोट बैंक पर जब प्रहार हो रहा है, बिहार चुनाव में कांग्रेस और आरजेडी को अपनी हार दिखती है, तो आज छटपटा कर प्रोपेगेंडा किंग एक नया भ्रम और भय जनता में फैलाने का काम कर रहे हैं।
आसिफ एएनआई
मैं आपसे एक सीधा, जब आपने अपना वोट बनाया तो किसने बनाया? देश में अपना वोट, जब मैं 18 साल का बना तो मेरी जिम्मेदारी में अपना वोट बनाऊं, पर मुझे ये कहीं पे अधिकार नहीं कि मैं 3-3 वोट बनाऊं, अलग अलग पोलिंग बूथ पर, एक ही पोलिंग बूथ पर 3 वोट बनाऊं। ये अधिकार नहीं है कहीं पे। और बीएलए हर पॉलिटिकल पार्टी अपॉइंट करता है, इलेक्शन कमीशन उनको सूची देती है, फाइनल तो बाद में देती, पहले भी देती है। तो क्या कांग्रेस ने कभी ऑब्जेक्शन किया?
Coming in right now, because the Indian Army has released an official statement, and it says that the Indian Army has foiled an infiltration bid in the Uri sector this morning, and the Indian Army had killed 2 terrorists in the same area a few days back. And while following this infiltration bid today, one Indian Army soldier lost his life. He made the supreme sacrifice. Search operations are still underway in this area. So another infiltration bid has been foiled by the Indian Army, and 2 terrorists have been eliminated by our forces. One soldier laid down his life in line of duty. So this is the breaking news we have right now, viewers. We've seen there's a gun battle also going on in another part of the valley, but this is the Uri sector near the LOC, and this is the Indian Army's official statement that has come in. Large-scale search operation, viewers, is underway in Uri sector of Jammu and Kashmir. The gun battle had broken out, and in fact, troops had foiled infiltration bid in the Churunda area. This is just few kilometers. This Churunda village, of course, is one of the last villages along the LOC. And Uri in Baramulla district of North Kashmir. Gursimran Singh joins us live on the broadcast. For more, Gursimran, tell us more details about this infiltration bid that has been foiled.
See, early today morning at around 2, a group of 3 Lashkar terrorists tried to sneak in into the Indian territory. That attempt was seen by the troops that were deployed in the forward area, and they retaliated to the fire. There was initial exchange of fire between the troops of the Indian Army and the terrorists, in which one Havaldar of the Indian Army along with one other, they got injured. Unfortunately, Havaldar of the Indian Army, who was deployed in the forward area in the Tikka post, he succumbed to his injuries and made the supreme sacrifice. The security forces have coordinated the entire area, and the operation are underway. This is the same area, the Tikka post, where an operation was carried out by the Indian Army in the month of April 23rd, 2025, when 2 Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists, they were attempting to sneak in. They were cornered in and neutralized, and from them huge cache of arms and ammunition, including the AK rifles, multiple magazines, 10 kilogram IED and other Pakistani currency, along with some eatables having the Pakistani marking, and the daggers were recovered by the Indian Army. So there lies the security forces were on the alert, because regular inputs were there that ahead of the Independence Day, the Pakistani terror groups will try to foment the trouble and they will attempt to push terrorists. The security forces, the Indian army that was deployed in the forward area was on the alert, but unfortunately during the exchange of fire, one brave heart Havaldar of the Indian army made the supreme sacrifice while fighting with the terrorists. Now the terrorists are believed to be active in the same area that forces have has pushed in additional security forces in the area so that the entire area can be cordoned, the forward area along the line of control, and the terrorists can be neutralized at an earliest, but dense foliage and the inclement weather conditions are proving to be one of the barriers in the ongoing operation. But the forces, they have launched the operations and now searching for the location of the terrorists.
Right, absolutely, Goswami. Thank you so much for joining us with those details coming in on that story. Okay, in fact, Ishan is also joining us live from New Delhi. Ishan, this is coming in amid Operation Akhal that is also underway since the 1st of August. And we've seen that there are multiple attempts that have been made by the terrorists from across the border to infiltrate, and the Indian forces have been engaged with very long-drawn gun battles. This is, of course, we are seeing that the intelligence inputs have been received, and now there is an infiltration bid just to, of course, mount the pressure. Army post has also been targeted, what we understand in the latest bid that has been foiled. Tell us more what your sources are telling you.
This is absolutely correct. Recent intelligence report had clearly suggested that there is a heightened activity along the POK in the Pakistani side for terrorist camps and launch pads. These intelligence reports had clearly suggested that the major planning is taking place and major operations are being planned to take place in and around 14th of August. This is in light with recent trend where we see that after making of large statements by the Pakistani establishment, there are attacks taking place. We have been conducting multiple recent operations against all these terrorist activities, and we have been achieving success. However, unfortunately, yesterday night a Havaldar of the Indian Army was shot, and during this and succumbed to his injuries at the hospital. And as of now, and this is a developing story, and we'll keep bringing you updates as and when they come in.
Right, Goswami and Ishan, thank you so much for joining us with those details coming in on that story. We will shift our focus now. Another deadly attack has been reported from Ireland on an Indian. Now, the incident happened on the 10th of August around 5:30 p.m. And the incident happened when the victim was on his way back home. The victim was attacked by three teenagers in Fairview Park T3. These are back-to-back incidents, viewers, of attacks against Indians. You've seen even a minor girl was attacked, brutally assaulted by individuals in Ireland. Racist attacks against Indians. Back-to-back attacks have been reported, and this is the latest. Indian has been attacked by teenagers. Okay, we have Anand Pandey, member of Ireland-India Council. He's live from Dublin. Sir, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Pandey. And this is really, really astonishing what's been happening in Ireland. We've seen back-to-back such attacks against Indians. What's really happening, sir?
Yeah, that's something really very scary here at the moment. So there is atmosphere of fear. Okay, and as you'd have seen, like last Wednesday, there was an attack on one of the Indian guys going to work in the morning, and then this incident happened on 10th of August at 5:30 p.m. It is in broad daylight that the teenage kids are doing these things, and this area is Dublin 3. Okay, so there has been targeted attacks over the Indians in last few months. Okay, and there seems to be a big propaganda of the far right and the far left in these targeted attacks. Okay, and given the 15th August is coming up and there were celebrations planned across in the Dublin city centre, so Ireland-India Council had withdrawn its celebrations on 17th. There are a few other groups which are going ahead with their celebrations, and then with Navratri and Diwali coming as well, the festive season, there is a sense of fear here within the community. People are scared to go out for late night movies or dinners in the evening over the weekends.
Right. Absolutely. It's really, really heartbreaking to see. We've seen an Indian origin man 5 days back also was hit. A young girl, a 6-year-old, was also attacked. It's very, really heartbreaking. But thank you so much for joining us with your inputs on this story. We shift our focus to some other story, but before that, a very short break. But there's a disturbing incident from Karnataka's Mandya that has come to light, where a pack of stray dogs have attacked 2 young girls. We'll get you more on that. And also on the show, viewers, ED's crackdown in the online betting app continues. Actor Prakash Raj, actor Manchu Lakshmi appeared before the ED.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, राजा और प्योर मसाला।
Being a legend means reaching a point where no one else has. To give others a dream worth chasing. 10 years of Creta, legend forever.
MDH की देगी मीरज, देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का। MDH की देगी मिर्च।
Ну, а чо ж тих два не пок...
The current American president, he's traveled a very long and difficult path. There were hardships along the way on his way to the White House.
Ми захищаємо населення, щоб шахеди не залетіли нікому ні в хату, нічого від людей. Зараз на даний час дуже важко, тому що їх побільшало.
Були сьогодні доповіді наших військових, фронт, особливо Добропілля, Покровський напрямок. Зроблені там кроки, щоб виправити ситуацію. Я вдячний кожному підрозділу, кожному нашому воїну, які зараз знищують окупант. Позиції на Харківщині, позиції на Запоріжжі, позиції на Сумщині. Всюди ми стараємось забезпечити Україні саме такий захист.
Welcome back. Now, former Bihar Deputy Chief Minister and Leader of Opposition Tejasvi Yadav has upped the ante against Election Commission over the SIR exercise now. Take a listen in.
एसआईआर का मामला जो है सुप्रीम कोर्ट में चल रहा है और कल तो जिन लोगों की एसआईआर के बाद मृत्यु लिस्ट में नाम था उन लोगों को जिंदा जो है अदालत में पेश भी किया गया कि वोट की डकैती पुरजोर तरीके से हो रही है। अब जब खुलासा होने लगा है तो बीजेपी की बोलती बंद है। लेकिन पहले बीजेपी का एक फॉर्मूला होता था चुनाव हराने का, सीबीआई, ईडी, इनकम टैक्स को लगाया जाता था। जब ये सब बेकार हो गई एजेंसियां तो इलेक्शन कमीशन को जो है आगे जो है किया जा रहा है।
Right, viewers, we'll get you more on the stray dog menace on the other side. Stay tuned. Also, the ED heat on stars from the southern film industries on the illegal betting app. We'll get you all the latest updates who appeared before the ED and all the latest updates.
प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार, विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग शिप भी बन सकती है।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ,
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
In the contested waters of the South China Sea, a dramatic and deeply embarrassing incident unfolded involving Chinese and Philippine vessels. The Chinese Coast Guard vessel CCG-3104, originally a repurposed PLA Navy 056 class corvette, collided with the PLA Navy's guided missile destroyer Guilin during a high-speed maneuver intended to block Philippine Coast Guard ships. The collision occurred as the CCG-3104 aggressively pursued.
All right, we have some breaking news coming in right now, viewers. This is a terror threat that has been reported from Odisha. Now, terror threat graffiti has come to light from Puri's Jagannath temple. Threatening words have been written on the southern side of Jagannath temple premises. That's the breaking news. You can see the photograph, viewers. That text, I think, is written by a chalk on that wall, and that is the wall of Jagannath temple. And this is a threat that has been written down over there, and this is the graffiti at the this is a scribbling, in fact, that has been that is visible on Jagannath temple's wall, and of course this is being considered as a terror threat. What action has been taken, or is there somebody who's a suspect behind this? We do not know yet. We'll try and get more details on that. But this is a terror threat scribbled on the Jagannath wall, and the police have jumped into action. This is near the Puri shrine. It is actually near the Puri shrine, what I understand, viewers, from the information. and devotees, servitors, they've all raised concerns over the safety in and around Jagannath temple. And police said that the messages were found on the wall of the small temple. So it's a small temple just near the Jagannath Puri. And there have been threats to demolish the temple, so on and so forth. It sparked an alarm, of course. It's a threat. You can see that has been scribbled onto that wall near the Jagannath temple, the 12th century shrine. And it's warning of a terror attack. It's warning of a terror attack. That is a security concern. Okay, we shift our focus now. We were shifting focus now to United States, where the Khalistani extremists desecrated a Hindu temple, marking the 4th such desecration of the site in less than a year. Here's a quick report.
Khalistani extremists attacked a Hindu temple in Indiana's Greenwood in the United States, marking the 4th such desecration of the site in less than a year. According to the reports, the Khalistani extremists also sprayed the Hindu temple with anti-India graffiti. Tom Suozzi, member of the Congress representing New York's 3rd Congressional District, also highlighted the incident of hate and intolerance against the Hindu community.
Late Sunday night, vandals defaced the BAPS Sri Swaminarayan Mandir on Long Island with vile hate and bigotry against the Hindu community. I've seen Hindus many times, and many of you have as well, when they place their hands together and they bow and they say namaste. When they do that, they're recognizing the divinity in the person in front of them. They're showing their respect for the person in front of them. We really need to recognize that with all of our fellow human beings, that we're all special, made in God's image, and need to treat each other with more respect. What's happening that we see these acts of vandalism and bigotry and hate happening so often? Is it because of the inflammatory rhetoric we hear all the time? Is it because of the extremism? Is it because of the lack of accountability? What do we need to do to address this problem? Because hate is not the answer. Love is the answer. In the short term, we need to hold vandals and criminals and people who commit hate crimes accountable. We need law enforcement to work to apprehend these criminals, and we need prosecutors to prosecute them, to hold them accountable. Because people can't just say whatever they want, regardless of the impact it has on other human beings. And in the long term, we need to do a much better job educating people about the importance of love.
A short break, but we get you the latest update on another case of dog pie that has come to light. Also, the ED hit on stars in the illegal betting app case. Several of them appearing before the ED in the betting app promotion.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये ही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा। सबका राजा और प्योर मसाला।
What makes you a legend? Maybe that you're followed by everyone. Maybe that you follow no one. Maybe both. 10 years of Creta, legend forever.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
Ну, а чо ж тих два не пок...
he's traveled a very long and difficult path. There were hardships along the way, on his way to the White.
Ми захищаємо населення, щоб шахеди не залетіли нікому ні в хату, нічого від людей. Зараз на даний час дуже важко, тому що їх побільшало.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
A very good afternoon, viewers. You're watching live and breaking, and I am Rakshita Mishra with you. We'll get you all the top stories of the day that we are tracking. First, the headlines.
ये जो फर्जी वोट अगर बनते हैं तो उसकी सफाई हो, सच्चे भारतीयों को, पक्के नागरिकों को वोट का अधिकार उनका ना छिने, लेकिन जो घुसपैठिए हैं, जो फर्जी वोट बना है, उनके वोट को खत्म किया जाए, तो उसका विरोध कांग्रेस पार्टी करती है।
Political face-off heats up over Election Commission's SIR exercise. BJP says Rahul Gandhi and India alliance indulging in infiltrative vote bank politics.
कांग्रेस में आंतरिक लोकतंत्र खत्म हो चुका है। कांग्रेस के वरिष्ठ नेता जब अपनी पार्टी पर सवाल खड़ा किया कि भाई हमारी सरकार थी 2024 में कर्नाटक में कांग्रेस की, कांग्रेस ने उनको नोटिस तो छोड़ी, उनको बर्खास्त करने का सीधा आदेश राहुल गांधी जी ने दिया।
BJP MP Anurag Thakur questions K.N. Rajanna's dismissal from Karnataka cabinet, says internal politics is dead in the Congress party. Army has neutralized 2 terrorists of Pakistan in North Kashmir's Uri in an ongoing encounter. One soldier also loses life in line of action. A disturbing incident in Karnataka's Mandi. A pack of stray dogs attacked 2 young girls aged 7 and 8 respectively while they were playing outside their homes. ED's crackdown in the online betting app case continues after actor Prakash Raj, actor Manju Lakshmi appears before ED in betting app promotion. DGCA issues a warning letter to Air India over safety violations. Air India faces enforcement action.
कि अगर तुम हमारा पानी बंद करने की धमकी देते हो तो ये बात जहन में रखना कि पाकिस्तान की एक बूंद भी तुम पाकिस्तान से छीन नहीं सकते। उस खुदाए बुजुर्गों बरतर की कसम है कि अगर तुमने ये हरकत की तो दोबारा तुम्हें वो सबक सिखाएंगे कि तुम कानों को हाथ लगाओगे।
After Asim Munir and Bilawal Bhutto, now Shahbaz Sharif joins Pakistan's empty threat brigade. We start with breaking news coming in. The Consulate General of India in Chicago has strongly condemned the desecration of the Bap Swaminarayan temple in Greenwood of Haryana. Now, the temple's main signboard was vandalized. The 4th such anti-Hindu incident in the US in the past year. And calling this act reprehensible, the consulate said it is in close touch with the local Hindu community and US law enforcement, urging swift action. Hindu organizations and US lawmakers have also denounced the incident, calling it a hate crime and demanding prosecution of the perpetrators. Now, pro-Hindu activists and BJP supporters and devotees of Dharmasala are staging massive protests across multiple districts, condemning alleged derogatory remarks and misinformation against the sacred temple town. Now, in Chikmagaluru, over 2,000 devotees from various parts of the district took out a 2-kilometer protest march from the Taluk office to Azad Park, singing devotional hymns, beating drums. Hundreds of women participated, condemning what they call a conspiracy to malign Dharmasthala. So Hindu groups have now taken to the streets and they are now staging protest. And this is the row over Dharmasthala mass burial. Remember, the excavation process continues. And now there are many Hindu devotees, Hindu groups there are claiming that this is a bid to malign Dharmasthala. While there has been a skeletal found, there has been not a lot of things found, but the investigation is still underway. All right, viewers, now breaking news is coming in. Former ADMK MP Maitre has joined DMK ahead of the 2026 elections. Now, he said that ADMK only listens to Delhi while he leaves the party. Maitre met Chief Minister M.K. Stalin at DMK headquarters and formally joined the ruling party. So, ex-ADM MP sidelined in and he was sidelined in the AIDMK also, after he supported O. Pannirselvam and 2023 joined the BJP, but as he did not get in position, he rejoined the ADMK in 2024. But as party General Secretary, Edapatti Palaniswamy did not consider him for a position. He quit the party and joined the DMK. Sharda joins live on the broadcast from Sharda. Is a former AIDMK or ADMK MP? Just clarify for us. And what's really going on? What's the significance of him joining back?
Well, my friend is from the ADMK party. When back in 2016, when Jayalalitha lost her life, and then there was a split in the party between O. Pannirselvam, the Sasikala factor, and the Edapadi K. Palaniswamy. He supported O. Pannirselvam, which he was removed from the AIDMK party later on, and following which Edapadi Palaniswamy did not give him a position. And then again in 2024, he moved to BJP, stating that he requires a position in the party. However, when BJP was not able to give him that position, he came back to the AIADMK party. So the switch between AIADMK and BJP, what happened in the last 5 years, now Maitreyan has now completely moved to the DMK, stating that the AIADMK and BJP now together under the India Alliance, and also said that the AIADMK party did not take any decision on their own, and also blamed that Delhi is the place where the AIADMK listens to. And now meeting the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, M.K. Stalin, today morning, Maitreyan joined the DMK party. And this is not the first former AIADMK MP who joined the DMK. Last month we had MP Anwar Raja from the AIADMK citing the same reason, stating that the AIADMK is not taking a decision on their own and is completely dependent on the Delhi government, and has now joined the DMK.
Right, thanks so much, Sharda, for joining us with those details coming in on that story. Shifting focus now, after India suspended Indus Waters Treaty in response to the Pahalgam terror attack, panic has gripped Islamabad. First, Army Chief Asim Munir threatened to bomb the dams. It's now Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif issuing water war threats. Before that, it was of course Bilawal Bhutto Zardari as well. Here's a report.
From across the border, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is back with yet another rant. This time, over the Indus Waters Treaty. He claims India won't be allowed to take even one drop of water.
मैं ये बताना चाहता हूं आज दुश्मन को कि अगर तुम हमारा पानी बंद करने की धमकी देते हो तो ये बात ज़हन में रखना कि पाकिस्तान की एक बूंद भी तुम पाकिस्तान से छीन नहीं सकते.
His words may sound defiant, but they reek of fear. Shehbaz Sharif knows what's at stake, and he knows Pakistan has no control. That's why the bluster, the bravado, and the desperation.
अगर तुमने ये हरकत की तो दोबारा तुम्हें वो सबक सिखाएंगे कि तुम कानों को हाथ लगाओगे पाकिस्तान का तुम कभी भी.
This also comes after Bilawal Bhutto's hollow claim.
इस मुल्क की अवाम में इतना ताकत है
कि जंग की सूरत हो तो जंग में भी हम इनका मुकाबला कर सकते हैं और जो आपके 6 के 6 दरिया है वो वापस हासिल भी कर सकते हैं। हमने अमन की बात की, भारत ने जंग की बात की, लेकिन अगर जंग छेड़ा गया है तो हम शाह अब्दुल लतीफ पिठाई की धरती से मोदी सरकार को बताना चाहेंगे कि हम पीछे नहीं हटते। और अगर आप सिंधु की तरफ इस किस्म की हमला के बारे में सोचेंगे तो फिर पाकिस्तान के हर सूबे के अवाम आपका मुकाबला करने के लिए तैयार है।
The outburst comes after India suspended the Indus Waters Treaty in April, a day after the Pahalgam terror attack that killed 26 innocent Indians. Pakistan is rattled because water leverage is now in India's hands. Days earlier, Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir threatened to destroy Indian dams. Threats like these only expose Pakistan's desperation and its obsession with provoking India. The MEA slammed Pakistan's nuclear blackmail, calling it routine behavior from a regime hand in glove with terror outfits. Remember, when Pakistan tried to test India in May, they got Operation Sindoor in return. India dismantled terror camps inside POK, loud and clear. Pakistan can bark, but India holds the tap. Water, war or rhetoric, India is ready. The message to Islamabad is simple. Stop threatening, start behaving.
Right now, Salim Pistol, India's most wanted arms supplier, who was arrested in Nepal on the 9th of August, has been brought to India. According to sources, Salim Pistol, whose original name is Sheikh Salim, is being held at Delhi Police Special Cell Office in the capital. He's been on the run since 2018. Salim Pistol was arrested at the India-Nepal border, and he's the first person to have supplied Zigana pistols to gangsters in India. He's been a key conduit for smuggling sophisticated weapons as well. All right, now former Bihar Deputy Chief Minister and leader of opposition Tejasvi Yadav has upped the ante against the Election Commission of India over the SIR exercise. Here's more.
SIR का मामला जो है सुप्रीम कोर्ट में चल रहा है और कल तो जिन लोगों की SIR के बाद मृत्यु लिस्ट में नाम था उन लोगों को जिंदा जो है अदालत में पेश भी किया गया कि वोट की डकैती पुरजोर तरीके से हो रही है। अब जब खुलासा होने लगा है तो बीजेपी की बोलती बंद है, लेकिन पहले बीजेपी का एक फॉर्मूला होता था चुनाव हराने का। CBI, ED, इनकम टैक्स को लगाया जाता था। जब ये सब बेकार हो गई एजेंसियां तो इलेक्शन कमीशन को जो है आगे जो है किया जा रहा है।
Tensions have flared in Haryana's New district after a minor parking dispute spiraled into large-scale violence in Mundaka village. What began as an argument quickly turned into a full-blown clash with arson, stone-pelting and injuries reported. Here's a ground report.
A minor dispute over a vehicle parking in the Mundaka village, located on the Haryana-Rajasthan border in New district, escalated into a violent clash. At least a dozen have been injured. People on both sides resorted to stone pelting, glass bottle attacks and arson.
डंडों का इस्तेमाल किया गया, पत्थरों का इस्तेमाल किया गया, शराब की बोतलें एक दूसरे पर फेंकी गई, उसके सबूत आपको यहाँ पर नजर आ जाएंगे। आप ये देखिए, ये शराब की बोतल आपको यहाँ पर नजर आ जाएगी जो हमले के लिए इस्तेमाल की गई। टूटे हुए कांच आपको इस तरीके से जो पीसेज हैं वो आपको यहाँ पर पड़े हुए नजर आ जाएंगे। और जैसे जैसे मैं आगे चलता जाऊँगा, आप ये देखिए, यहाँ पर भी आगजनी हुई है, पूरी सड़क आपको काली यहाँ पर नजर आ जाएगी। इसी जगह पर जो टायर थे उनको जलाए गए, जो डंडे उनके पास थे, जो बाइक यहाँ पर खड़ी थी उनको जलाया गया। और अगर मेरे विजय आकाश आपको तस्वीर दिखाएं तो आप ये देखते चलिए, बारीक बारीक आपको कांच यहाँ पर नजर आ जाएंगे। और सीसीटीवी कैमरों में जब आप तस्वीरें देख रहे हैं कि कैसे सामने पत्थरबाजी हुई, किस तरीके से सामने बोतल्स फेंकी गई और किस तरीके से उपद्रव हुआ।
Police say the altercation began when a man, a local resident, parked his car in the middle of the road, while another asked him to move his vehicle. An argument broke out during which the young man in the car allegedly attacked with a glass bottle. The confrontation quickly drew in people from both sides, leading to mass stone-pelting. During the chaos, a motorcycle and a small roadside shop was set on fire.
हाँ, दुकान पर रहा ही हमारा आदमी हम झगड़ा में ना हुआ, ही बैठा हुआ, इतने होश होती होती लड़ाई ही आई है। फिर वो आदमी बेचारा कोई को कान कट को, कोई को माथा फूट को, उन्नत लेगा एम्बुलेंस में, और वह गांव का आके नहीं रहा, हमारे ही चढ़ गया, हम अपने भीतर दबा, हम ना झगड़ा में, वो तो गांव का कोई झगड़ा में।
होंगे उस समय
सड़क पर बहुत थोड़ा ये जब ज़्यादा पुलिस से आगे वो ज़्यादा आगा मारी, फिर तो गांव हमारा गांव है, थोड़ा गांव का थोड़ा हमारा महीना खाया हुए। और जब उन्हें जाने की लूट फूट करो, जब उतरंगा वे ये उतरंगा, जब ही से लिया और फेंकिया बोतल रू करो, हूँ जो और धरो हंसली धरी मेरी और 1 किलो कड़ा धरा हूँ सर मकान फोड़ दिया, आग लगा रखी तूड़ा में।
A team from the Firozpur police reached the spot to control the situation. But by evening, the entire village turned into a fortress with heavy security in place. The police have registered a case in connection with the violence and have launched a manhunt to nab those involved. Security forces are expected to remain deployed in Mundka until the situation is deemed completely stable.
Right, we have breaking news coming in right now. Viewers from Jammu and Kashmir. Now, Kashmir IGP says that the hunt for terrorists in Kulgam's Akhal forest has entered its final stage. The encounter, now in its 13th day, has claimed the lives of 2 army soldiers and injured 9 others since it began on the 1st of August. 2 terrorists have been killed, though their identities and affiliations remain unknown. At least 2 of them earlier were identified. But this is the terror hunt and the entire operation. This is the Operation Akhal that is going on, viewers. And 2 soldiers of India have also made the supreme sacrifice in this operation. The terror hunt continues in this operation in Jammu and Kashmir, and it is the 13th day. It's being wound up. The operation is being wound up. It's in its final stages, but of course it's been a challenging terrain and one of the longest anti-terror operations in recent years as far as the valley is concerned. And the 2 soldiers from Army's elite counter-insurgency unit, Lance Naik Preetpal Singh and Sepoy Harminder Singh, they made the supreme sacrifice, suffering injuries, succumbing to it. And Zenith is joining us live on the broadcast from Zenith. This is one of the longest anti-terror operations in the valley, and this now what we are learning is that it would be in its final stages.
Actually, the operation is over, but yes, the task continues in the forest belts of the Akhal in Kulgam. The operation, the machinery, and the other things have been withdrawn yesterday also, because this was an army operation, and after getting the credible leads about the group of terrorists in the Akhal forest belt, the operation was concluded yesterday, but yes, the search continues in the area because this is a very long forest that it just connects you to the Jammu's Riyasi, and there had been an information that the terrorists who are hiding in this Akhal forest belt had come from Riyasi. This operation was there for around 11 days, but on the 9th day, the firefight stopped altogether, and for next 2 days, no gunshot was witnessed. With the result, the army had to withdraw its forces from the spot where the encounter was taking on. But yes, now there the CASO has been launched to search or to frisk and to see if at all the terrorists are still hiding in the belt. In this operation, which concluded on the 11th day, the 2 army soldiers lost their lives, and also the one Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorist, the local one who comes from the Pulwama, was neutralized on the very first day when this encounter started. This was a group of the terrorists, the foreign as well as the local terrorists who had come.
Yes, Azina, thank you so much for joining us with those details coming in. Viewers, in fact, more breaking news that the Indian Army has also released an official statement saying that the Indian Army has fought an infiltration bid in the Uri sector this morning, and the Indian Army had killed 2 terrorists in the same areas a few days back, and while foiling the infiltration bid, 1 Indian Army soldier lost his life. Search operations are still going on in the area. So we'll just get more details from my colleague Gursimran Singh on this big story that we're tracking from Jammu and Kashmir. This is from Uri sector. It falls in the Baramulla, and this is along the Uri sector of Jammu and Kashmir, Baramulla district of North Kashmir, and group of what we understand, as far as sources tell us, that 3 armed terrorists took advantage of the dense foliage and darkness to make this infiltration bid. They targeted Tika border forward post in Uri sector. Gursimran Singh joins us for more. Gursimran, tell us more details about this, please.
See, there was an attempt by the Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists. What it is being said that a group of 3 terrorists tried to sneak into the Indian territory in the Uri sector of the line of control in North Kashmir. It was close to the Tika forward post of the Indian Army where the infiltration attempt was made. But the attempt was repulsed by the Indian Army. But in an unfortunate incident, one brave heart of the Indian Army, Havaldar rank official, he made the supreme sacrifice. He was injured while fighting with these terrorists in an attempt to push back or neutralize these terrorists. He was injured and later succumbed to the injuries. What we are picking up that this is the same area where a major infiltration bid was foiled by the Indian Army on 23rd of April 2025, where 2 Pakistani terrorists of Lashkar-e-Toiba were killed and a huge cache of arms and ammunition, including the 2 AK series rifles, IEDs, magazines, and Pakistani currency, along with some eatables were recovered with the Pakistani marking. So a similar attempt was being made yesterday also by the Pakistan in the late hours, taking the advantage of the dense foliage and the darkness to push their terrorists into the Indian territory. And this coming at a time when we are witnessing back-to-back provocative statements coming from the Pakistani Prime Minister as well as the Pakistani Army Chief, which clearly hints that the Pakistan wants to disrupt peace in the Indian side and they are hell-bent to push their terrorists into the Indian territory. And now this incident taking place, but an infiltration bid stands foiled, and now the security forces are carrying out large-scale search operations in the area to neutralize the group of Lashkar terrorists which was attempting to sneak into the Indian territory.
Gursimran Singh, right. Thank you so much for joining us. In fact, we also have Ishan joining us. Ishan, tell us more. What are you picking up from your sources on this operation, on this infiltration bid?
This infiltration bid took place in the cover of darkness and in an area with dense foliage. This comes in shortly after reports earlier had come in wherein it was suggested that there are a large number of Pakistani terror camps that have been activated in the POK region, and these camps have been activated post-Operation Sindoor, and these camps have seen increased activities in the recent days and weeks, coming up to 14th of August, and we have had intelligence reports suggest that they may be an attack that is being planned during the 14th of August period.
Thank you so much.
During this attack, one of our Jawan had been injured and he succumbed to his injuries.
Okay, right, Ishan. Ishan, stay on with us. Gursimran, please stay on with us. We also have Zeenat joining us from Srinagar. Zeenat, well, what we understand is that this, of course, was the targeting of the posts that has happened. This is near the forward post, Tika border forward post in Uri sector. And one soldier was also involved in a close-range combat and later succumbed to injuries. What more can you tell us about this?
See, the Sepoy Anil, who's been identified now, he lost his life. He got killed in action while defending his post. Because as per the sources within the army, this exchange of fire had taken place around 2:30 in the morning between the India and the Pakistan. Indian soldiers were engaged with the Pakistani terrorists who tried to infiltrate, but Indian army within the sources, although we are yet to get any official confirmation and official press release regarding the issue, that it was an infiltration bid, because when India is in a celebration mode of the independence of the Republic Day, such incidents do take place if we turn the pages of the history. That is why there had been a lot of alertness along the line of control. The anti-infiltration grid is on alert, and a lot of machinery even was deployed to monitor every inch, because the live images, the real-time timings has also been getting monitored as far as the LC infrastructure is concerned. This incident had taken place around 2:30 in the morning. This is the Churanda area in Uri sector, where this is a part of the North Kashmir's Baramulla, and around 70 to 80 kilometers from the Srinagar city, and it takes around three plus hours to reach to the spot where this incident has taken. This is the extreme forward area where this incident has taken place, and because of the no communication facilities available in this area, it took time to get the exact news about the entire incident.
Absolutely. Challenging terrain there. Thank you so much, Zina, for joining us. We have some breaking news coming in. This is with regards to S. Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister's visit to Moscow. As planned, the dates have now been announced, and we expect that he will be meeting his Russian counterpart next week. So that's the breaking news we have after NSA Ajit Doval. It's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar, who will be holding meeting with Sergei Lavrov next week for talks, 20th of August to 21st of August. This is as per our sources, Jaishankar to meet Russian counterpart, and of course this was part of this the scheduled meetings that have been lined up, and this was announced by now. This has been now being told by the sources to us, and that's the latest update we have right now. And we've seen that he has also met counterparts from Russia on the sidelines of the BRICS summit, of course. But he's held meetings, he's held separate talks with Russian counterpart earlier. NSA Doval also, of course, from defense to trade, to defense and strategic partnership was on the table, was discussed as per our sources when he was in Moscow, and he invited Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. The Prime Minister also spoke to Vladimir Putin and welcoming him in India. And then we have the Foreign Affairs Minister, we have External Affairs Minister Chandrakala joins us from more. Chandrakala, tell us more details about this meeting between Sergei Lavrov and Jaishankar.
Well, yes, of course, Rakshita, External Affairs Minister is scheduled to visit Moscow to meet the Russian Foreign Minister. The meet is scheduled for August 21st. Of course, this meet comes after NSA Doval's meeting in Moscow, and there are a lot of such important issues that are to be discussed during this meeting. Of course, the tariff would be one such issue, and energy and security will be one such issues. And this particular visit comes at a very crucial time when a lot of such geopolitical developments are underway, and we have seen the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval was in Moscow, and now External Affairs Minister Jaishankar will be visiting Russia. He'll be meeting the Foreign Minister and other Russian officials, and the meeting is slated to take place on August 21st, and several other issues including the tariff. As we know, that Russian president is also slated to visit India anytime soon. Over to you. Yes, it's a very, very crucial visit.
Indeed it is, and this comes in the backdrop of what's been happening between America and and India. Of course, we've seen that the leadership in New Delhi has also been very much, very much stern in their messaging that has been going across. Without, of course, taking names, we've seen that India will do whatever suits its own interests, and even if the proximity to Russia irks any other country, it really is not. It really doesn't affect New Delhi, and that has the record that has been set by the leadership. The intent has been made very clear, and now, of course, White House, Chandrakala, will be having its eyes on this meeting also.
Yes, Rakshita rightly pointed out is that, of course, President Trump is also likely to meet Russian President Putin anytime soon, and the White House has made it clear that the meeting will be taking place on Friday, this Friday. So yes, External Affairs Minister's visit to Moscow, and of course Trump meeting President Putin on the particular issues as far as the Ukraine conflict is concerned, and also tariff is one such agenda which will be discussed when all these important meetings are concerned. So yes, these meetings are coming at a very crucial time when countries, all the major powers are staring at Trump's tariff. Of course, Russia has made it clear, no matter what our relations with.
Thank you very much for being here this afternoon. Thank you. A lot has happened in the course of the last 3 editions of the Nationalist Collective. Operation Sindoor has happened, and we have had the one-sided declaration of a trade war by Donald Trump. And today is a great occasion. When we have the 3rd edition of the Nationalist Collective, people will be looking forward to the various conversations that we have on stage to give some direction to how India should shape the outcome out of whatever we are facing today. Some people say that these are not crises, these are opportunities. I also think so, because I believe this is the transition of India from being a middle power to being a great power. We are rising unapologetically, we are rising decisively. If you look at our economic performance over the last 4 months, it tells you a different story of overtaking Japan, becoming the 3rd largest economy in the world, already in effective terms, in purchasing power parity terms, growing in terms of reducing income inequality. We have, when the world has high inflation, we have yesterday had the lowest rates of inflation which have been announced. And so there's a great effort towards taking India towards its eventual destiny. Today's conversations are shaped by decision makers. We are very privileged to have a Lieutenant General among us who has headed the Strike Corps and is now at the highest echelons. And today I'm very grateful to the Indian Army, sir, and to the Chief of Army Staff who I met a month back, that he has sent you to represent the Indian Army at this event. We're grateful to you, sir. We also have with us many other speakers. I'm not mentioning all, but we have Sanjeev Sanyal, who is an advisor to the Prime Minister on economics. So we will get both a strategic and an economic perspective. The only takeaway that I would like this event to have is that as nationalists, we must also be realistic about the challenges that we face. We don't want to be an India that waits for others. We want to be an India that sets the tone. Is it possible, given everything that we are going through, is it possible for India to rewrite the global script? How will we compete in a changing world where suddenly, if you think last 6 months, what has happened is this relative insulation. We thought that we will get 3 to 4 to 5 years till we catch up with the rest of the world, and then we will talk to the rest of the world on our own terms. Operation Sindoor has taught us that the world does not wait for you. Challenges come, your enemies are ever there, and you have to be ever vigilant. We will not get 4 to 5 years to prepare. Neither will our economy get 4 to 5 years to become more resilient and strong. As they say in Sanskrit, Subhashya Shighram, whatever you have to do today. So this edition of the Nationalist Collective should have the same spirit of Subhashya Shighram. What is it that we can do today? Not what it is that we need to do 5 years from now. We have inspirational speakers. We have great nationalists. And I request all the speakers to come together and contribute towards that discussion, so that everybody who is watching today's event at home, here, on streaming, or anywhere in the world knows that there is an intent to change things and to change things fast. So if I was to ask to wrap up what would be the theme of today's event, it should be Nationalist Collective Subhashya Shighram. Jo karna hai abhi karne ki zarurat hai, so that we can bring history closer to us rather than wait for history to be rewritten by us one day. And I wish you all the best. I will be hooked today at today's event because these will be deep and important conversations. Nationalist Collective has grown. Now we have members of Nationalist Collective coming to our channel, coming as speakers. I recently had a young boy, I think he was 18 or 19 years old, and he was from Mumbai, and he said, I'm a Nationalist Collective member. He came on my show, and I can tell you one thing, the systematic way in which he hammered the Pakistanis. On my program, on a live program, he had a Pakistani retired general, Pakistani policy makers, economists on the other side, and he was cool and calm. Similarly, in another event where we opened up the lines, we had a member of the Nationalist Collective from Mumbai, and he started reeling figures about the comparison between Pakistan's economy and India's economy. And I asked him at the end of it, I asked him, sir, if you don't mind, I ask you, what do you do? Because the Pakistanis had no response to this person. I thought he's a highly trained economist like my friend Sanjeev Sanyal. He said, Arnab, I work in real estate in Bangalore. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I am in real estate, but I am a member of Nationalist Collective, and everything I'm doing is going to make India a 5 trillion economy and a 10 trillion economy very soon. So I felt so proud that we have been able to give a platform to these people so that they are not just working in the intersections of what their daily work is, but they have a larger cause. And that is what Nationalist Collective is all about. Something larger that we do beyond our work. If today a student in Mumbai and a real estate professional in Bengaluru have been inspired for the cause, and so have all of you to come on this sweltering afternoon to be with us, then I think we are on the right track. Thank you very much, and best of luck to the 3rd edition of the Nationalist Collective. Thank you.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपके विचार आगे तक जाएंगे, और जैसा हम कह रहे हैं कि राष्ट्रवादी समूह है, राष्ट्रवादी अलग हम लोग जगा रहे हैं, और ये दूर तक जाए, यही हमारी एक कोशिश है। तो आज के हम पहले सेशन की तरफ बढ़ेंगे, और आज हम एक ऐसे सत्र की ओर बढ़ रहे हैं जिसमें बात होगी दुनिया की बदलती राजनीति की, इतिहास से मिलने वाले अहम सबक की। हमारे साथ हैं एक प्रतिष्ठित अर्थशास्त्री, इतिहासकार और नीति विशेषज्ञ। प्लीज वेलकम मिस्टर संजीव सान्याल, member of Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, presenting World Order Influx Lessons from History. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Big congratulations to Republic TV for putting together the Nationalist Collective. And I'm going to speak here today about a topic which is on top of your minds, which is, of course, the major churn, geopolitical churn that the world is going through. We are witnessing one of those moments in history when the world order basically resets. These are turbulent times. Now, of course, I have to be a little careful about what I say here because I am a policymaker and I'm dealing with a live situation. So I requested my friend Arnab to allow me to wear my hat as a historian, because, you see, we are a very ancient civilization. And in this very long history, we have not only witnessed, but participated in many periods of geopolitical shifts. And so there are many interesting lessons that we can bring to bear over these many thousands of years of history. And I'm going to use 2 episodes to illustrate this issue. So the first issue, or rather, first episode that I'm going to deal with relates to something that happened exactly 1,000 years ago. In the year 1025, when, as some of you may be aware, the great king Rajendra Chola did a raid on Southeast Asia. So this was a major naval raid, a major geopolitical event of that time. And I will first get you to understand what were the circumstances in which it happened, and two, what are the lessons we can draw from it. And then I will go on to the other episode. So let me take you back 1,000 years ago. What was going on? What did the world look like 1,000 years ago? So 1,000 years ago, the world economy basically was about trade between three major nodes. One of them was in the Eastern Mediterranean, the Fatimid Empire out of Egypt. The second was India, which was the southern India was at that time dominated by the Chola Empire. And the third was China, ruled over by the Song Empire. And these three nodes were trading each other heavily, particularly through the maritime route. Now, it is important to note here that we are all very proud about India being, at that time, something like a third of the world economy. But you have to understand that this wasn't only about the domestic economy. It happened because we Indians dominated world trade. And how did we do it? It wasn't about, individual heroic merchants sailing out into the horizon. It was actually done by large guilds, merchant and artisan guilds, which were not dissimilar to multinational companies. We even know their names. For example, one of them was called Mani Gramam. Another was called the 500. Why 500? I presume because they had 500 shareholders. So it was like a modern corporation. And these were not small bodies. They had sort of operations across the world. For example, the 500 had major operations in Southeast Asia. They had their own navy because there were obviously pirates everywhere. Indeed, some of these big multinational merchant guilds were so powerful that they survived through many dynasties. So dynasties would come and go, empires would come and go, but these massive merchant guilds would continue. And these merchant guilds were financed by a very sophisticated financial system, interestingly run out of the temples. So in case you have ever wondered why is it that Hindu temples in the medieval period had so much gold, it was not because the kings of that time were handing over their gold to the temples. Let me assure you that Indian politicians of all eras are always very reluctant to hand over their money to anyone. So even at that time it was true. The reason Indian temples, Hindu temples had so much money was because they functioned as banks and venture capitalists who were financing these merchant and artisan guilds to build out this massive merchant, what I would call an export-led model of growth. So this was what allowed this domination of this global economic system. Now, a series of events in the early 11th century threatened this. So what happened is, you have to know that a lot of this trade was happening between India through Southeast Asia to China, Korea, Japan, and so on. And this happened through two routes. There was one route which went through the Malacca Straits, which is between Sumatra and the Malay Peninsula, which was usually controlled by the Srivijaya kings of Sumatra. And the other route was through the Sunda Strait, which is between Sumatra and Java, which was usually controlled by the Javans. So these were the two routes through which the Cholas were trading with the Song and other kingdoms of that part of the world. Now what happened is that the Sumatrans were under tremendous pressure from the Javans, and at that one point, a series of battles, the kings of Java basically defeated the Srivijayas. So the Srivijaya went running to the Chinese for help. And the Chinese decided to provide them with a great deal of support. So the reason I'm telling you this is that Chinese geopolitical projection is not a new thing. It was happening 1,000 years ago. And it is with the help of Chinese support that the Srivijaya managed to not only defeat the Javans, but take control of the Sunda Strait as well. So now you had a situation where the same power controlled both the Malacca Straits and the Sunda Straits. And of course, they did what all monopolists do. They dramatically jacked up the tariffs for passing through those straits. Now, this is something that was against the economic interests of the Cholas. So what they did is they sent a warning in 1017, a small raid, to warn the Sumatrans that, look, we are not happy about the situation. But the Srivijaya ignored it. In fact, worse, they projected to the Song Emperor that the Cholas were their vassals. I'm sure this information managed to wake it back to Rajendra Chola. So exactly 1,000 years ago, in 1025, Rajendra Chola decided to make a naval raid. Now, there is no evidence that Rajendra Chola had a large standing navy. So it is almost certain that most of the navy that he used were actually the navy of these merchant guilds I talked about earlier, of the Manigramam and of the 500. And so a large naval force was put together. It set sail from Nagapatnam, which is still a major port today. And from Nagapatnam, they made their way across the Bay of Bengal to Sumatra and then along the western coast to the Sunda Strait, where they probably refueled with their Javan allies. And having got refueled, they made their way up the Malacca Strait, sacking all the ports of the Srivijaya, and finally landing in Kadaram, what is modern Kedah in Malaysia. They destroyed the army of the Srivijaya completely. And then they made their way back past Nicobar, back to base. This was a major event, as you can imagine, and as a result of which the trade routes opened. And a few years later, we have a record of a joint embassy by the Cholas with the Srivijaya, where presumably they basically came to some agreement with the Song Emperor. It is worth noting here also that the Chinese actually did absolutely nothing to help their Srivijayan vassals. Now, what is the lesson about this whole episode? What can we learn from this major event in our history? First of all, very important to remember that there is actually no difference between economic power and military power. Hard power matters. You can have all the soft power you want, but hard economic power and hard military power are needed, and they are joined in the hip. They're actually the same thing. You cannot have one without the other. It's meaningless to have one without the other. So this is something that our ancestors knew. We are all proud of ancient India, and for some reason we have been somehow given to believe that India was some sort of a uniquely pacifist country. That is not the case. While we may not have gone and colonized other countries through actual occupation, we did culturally colonize other places, but not through actual occupation. We were not above protecting our economic interests by the sword when necessary. The second important thing is, even with your geopolitical rivals, you can enter into an understanding when you have economic interests which you may share. For example, it is very likely that the Song emperors were just as unhappy about the tariffs that they were being imposed by the Srivijaya. Or at the very least, they understood the Indian interests and allowed us to do what we want to do, even to their own vassal. So whenever we are thinking of the Chinese, do remember that, yes, they have their interests, so do we. And if it suits them, and indeed, if we push hard enough, it suits us, we will be able to pursue our interests. But we have to be very clear what those interests are and to be willing to back it with both economic and military hard power. So this is the first episode that I wanted to tell you about. Now, this economic system that I described unfortunately fell apart in the early 13th century. All these three nodes of economic hub that I talked about were essentially sacked by raiders from the Central Asia. China's Song Empire was destroyed by the Mongols. India itself was sacked by the Turks. And of course, the Middle East was an absolute upheaval because of also the Mongols, who sacked Baghdad and other places. The temples, which were the backbone of our financial system, were sacked. So people tend to only think of this in cultural and religious terms, but do remember that it was an absolute economic disaster as well, because the financial basis of our Indian economic power was also destroyed. Notice that many of our big temples are all along the coastline. Where is Somnath? It is on the coast. Where is Konarak? It's on the coast. These were all temples which were related to the port activities of those areas. So we went into decline. Now, a couple of more centuries passed, and what happened is that in many of these places, new powers came back. These Central Asian hordes were either pushed back or at least put in control. So, for example, the Mongols were finally defeated by the Ming, and the Ming emperor rose and became a major power in China. In the Middle East, the Mongols were overthrown by the Safavids. So in Iran, and so the Middle East also came back. In India, although northern India continued to be under the control of the Central Asian invaders, at least much of southern India came to be under the control of another great empire called the Vijayanagar. Now, in this situation, it's quite interesting what the Chinese did. Remember, the Chinese, just like today, they were very conscious that they had come back from a period of decline. So what they did is, they wanted to also project power. Just like today they want to project power, the Ming emperors also wanted to project power. So they built a huge navy. This navy was led by a very unlikely leader, an admiral who was a eunuch actually, called Admiral Zheng He. And Admiral Zheng He led these magnificent expeditions into the Indian Ocean. The ships he used were massive. They were massive even by modern standards. And in each one of these expeditions, he had between 20 to 25,000 sailors and soldiers and merchants on these expeditions. So these were huge expeditions by modern standards. The technology they were using at that time was almost a century ahead of what the Europeans were using. So the ships were huge, the technology was huge, and there was no doubt at that time that the Chinese were far in advance of anybody of that time. And using these ships, Admiral Zheng He came to the Indian Ocean. And he sailed all over the Indian Ocean. He came to, he went to Indonesia, where of course the main rival to the Chinese were the Hindu empire of the Majapahit, which was a Hindu empire of what is now Indonesia. He came to Sri Lanka, he came to India, he went to Africa and to Arabia. Now it is important, while he was trading, it is important to remember that this was primarily a projection of power, because do remember that these are not voyages of exploration. Indians, or indeed even the Chinese, had been sailing these waters for hundreds of years before that. So what they were really doing was signaling that, look, yes, we were conquered by the Mongols, but China is back. That is what they were signaling, and they made repeated voyages. Indeed, they did a lot of geopolitical maneuvering also in the Indian Ocean. So for example, they tried to change the king of Sri Lanka and put their own candidate there. Since they were suspicious of the Hindu Majapahit empire in Indonesia, they actually backed an Islamic kingdom in Malacca. So they encouraged the local king of Malacca to convert to Islam, and then they backed it to fight against the Majapahit. So you can see the Chinese have been in this area doing their thing for a very long time. And this is what Admiral Zheng He as well did. And he made repeated voyages. So if around about the 1435 or so, you had asked anybody, you know, some part of the world is going to dominate the world, can you guess who that's going to be? They were almost always, everybody was going to say China, not Europe. They were all going to say China. They were ahead technologically. They were already geopolitically powerful. They had taken over large parts of the world's oceans. So, you know, everybody would have said, you know, next few centuries belongs to China. But then something very interesting happened. You see, the Ming emperor died, and a new Ming emperor came to the throne. And this new emperor had been brought to the throne because of the support of the Confucian mandarins, which is the bureaucrats. And the Confucian mandarins were suspicious of their rivals in court, who were the eunuchs, like Admiral Zheng He. So they did what all good bureaucrats do. They switched off the money. They must have made the procurement process very, very complicated, as you can imagine. Simple way to shut down the military. And in fact, the Chinese Navy was never defeated in war. All that happened was that it rotted. It literally rotted in the port. And the records of these great voyages of Zheng He were completely suppressed. In fact, they did such a good job of it that it's only in the 20th century, late 20th century, that we have now begun to discover the importance of these great voyages of Zheng He. So, there was no sudden collapse of Chinese power. It slowly faded away. Chinese support, of course, continued to various vassals in the Indian Ocean. For example, Malacca fought against the Majapahit, pushed them back and back, till the last of the Majapahit withdrew to Bali, where they continued to remain Hindu. But the rest of Indonesia basically over time became Islamic. As I said, the Islamization of Southeast Asia was a Chinese geopolitical project. Not many people know this. In other parts of the Indian Ocean, the withdrawal of the Chinese led to a vacuum. And into this vacuum, a new power turned up, the Portuguese. So this is the environment in which Vasco da Gama turned up with just 3 ships. Now, in case you wondered, how is it that this small power, Portugal, which was not even a major power in Europe, turns up in the Indian Ocean and basically takes it over within a decade or two? The reason it was able to do this is because the Chinese had been there before them. They had knocked out all their rivals and then just walked off, leaving a vacuum which the Europeans just happened to fill up. So this leads us to some of the great lessons of history. What are those lessons? First of all, be very wary of bureaucrats. As you can see, that you can have all the geopolitical ambitions in the world, but it's your internal politics that will do you in. And this is what happened to the Chinese. I'm not just including the bureaucrats, I meant that facetiously, of course, but your internal dynamics matters a lot more than you think, even if you happen to be a great power. So today's great powers, whatever that's happening to them, is driven largely by their own. They don't have to be necessarily defeated in war. It is their own dynamics which will lead to their downfall. Second, it has a very important lesson to India. Remember that between the decline of the Chinese and the coming of the Portuguese, there were several decades empty. Now, why is it that the Vijayanagar Empire, the Indians, did not fill it out? This was, after all, an empty space. The Vijayanagar Empire was a very prosperous empire with a long coastline, and indeed very much aware of coastal benefits of coastal trade, because its own wealth was based on maritime trade. And yet the Vijayanagar emperors made no real attempt to create a big navy or project power. Look at the change in attitude between Rajendra Chola and Vijayanagar Empire. Now, the Vijayanagar was a great empire indeed, but it did not lead to a re-establishment of Indian economic, military or civilization power. It was at best a holding job. They were holding on, but it didn't help. Retreating behind the walls never helps. That's what the Chinese discovered. Having the Great Wall of China hadn't helped them against the Mongols, and it didn't help them later on against the Manchurians. And for us to have decided that we were not going to project power in the maritime space and remain at home did not mean that we were left alone. Far from it, the Europeans turned up, and the next colonization of India actually happened from the sea. So this has, again, a very important lesson to us today, that we have to engage with the world. Just because we want to hide behind the walls does not mean that the rest of the world is going to leave us alone. So to be a great power, to revive as a civilization, we cannot think of it in terms of purely being domestically oriented. We have to engage with the world. It has to be done by an outward orientation, because no matter what you say, the rest of the world is going to carry on. You may not have an interest in them, but they have an interest in you. So these are the two big episodes of Indian history that I gave you. There are many others that I could talk about, but the point I was trying to get to, now coming back to the present, is this. We now face a peculiar period in world history where clearly the old order is breaking down and a new order is appearing. We are an emerging power. We want to be a great power, but we are not there yet. And we are in an environment where there is not only rivalry between the two large existing powers, but they also look on us with some degree of suspicion. So this is an environment which we have to deal with, but we need to deal with it with the following principles in mind. First of all, we cannot compartmentalize different fields of power. We have to not just have an all-of-government approach, we have to have an all-of-nation approach. We cannot separate out military power from economic power. We cannot separate out the government and public sector from private sector. All of these things are intertwined. Whatever our internal differences may be, when we are dealing with the world, we have to be on the same side. Because the people with whom we are dealing with are going to come to the table being united on their side in their own way. Secondly, world power and dynamics of world power are extremely unpredictable. Do not bother to try and predict it. After all, nobody could have guessed circa 1450 that it was not the Chinese but the Portuguese who would come to dominate the Indian Ocean. Not possible to have predicted it. Similarly, it is not possible for us to predict exactly how things will pan out from here on, either with President Trump or with President Xi or with many other people around us, not to mention random shocks like COVID that could happen. What we need to do is to be internally resilient and have policies that are flexible to deal with the situation as it appears. We tend to get very disappointed every time things do not quite pan out the way we may have planned. But in fact, it should be entirely surprising if it does pan out the way you planned it, because the world is uncertain. It's an unstable place by definition. So the game is not to have grand plans, but to invest into your own strength, and very importantly, be willing to act opportunistically when the opportunity arises. So you have to be willing to go in there and do it. And finally, when we say Atmanirbhar Bharat, or we say Swadeshi, we should not confuse it with some 1950s view of import substitution and looking inward. Of course, we should build on our own strength, but it has to be an outward-oriented approach. We need to go out there and capture export markets. We need to go out there and build geopolitical linkages. And we need to be willing to use these for pursuing national interest. With that, let me stop. Jai Hind.
Army has neutralized 2 Pakistani terrorists in North Kashmir's Uri in an ongoing encounter. 1 soldier has also lost his life in the line of action.
पानी बंद करने की धमकी देते हो तो ये बात जहन में रखना कि पाकिस्तान की एक बूंद भी तुम पाकिस्तान से छीन नहीं सकते। उस खुदाए